Hi everyone, this is Penguin Trades, and this is a review for the ES and NQ futures for October 23rd. This is our overnight high level up here. This is our overnight low, our key levels for the day. And so we're going to first start off on the ES here and then hop over to the NQ. So I started trading at 8 Central Time, which is this area right here. Price is in this downtrend. We're breaking out of the overnight low. Now when price breaks the overnight low, we can expect price to attempt to fade back in, just like with any other range. And so what we get here is a small break from this downtrend and a push to a new low. Now, when a downtrend gets a break and a new low, it's considered played out, and you can expect price to attempt to reverse. So considering we have this overnight low level right here that we just broke through, which we can expect an attempt to fade for, there's a high chance that we could get in on a short after two failed attempts to fade. So when we get this first attempt up here, what I'd like to see is the second leg up retest, or at least almost retest the overnight low with a good bearish reaction. That way we can get in on the fade failure, because second entries, they form all over the chart. Pairs of, the market moves in pairs of twos, and so when we get two attempts to fade and it still can't fade, then we want to look to get in on the failure. We want to look to get short and continue with the breakout. You don't want to just expect price to keep on breaking out of the overnight level. You want to wait for two attempts to fade. And so when this downtrend, again, like I said, it played out with a break to a new low, making it more likely to start reversing, because since the downtrend played out, bulls naturally will start coming in. On a bigger picture, this is just a two-legged break, because even with this small break to a new low, once price fails to reverse from here, it's pretty clear that this is all just one leg down on a bigger picture, and we can still make a larger push to a new low. So notice from right here, it never met this up measured move right here. It kind of just stayed around this, it kind of just chopped around this area here, but you can still see that after this two-legged break here, we had our first leg at a new low. It successfully made a new low, but we still got a second attempt right here before getting a more significant reversal attempt. So, just to be clear, a downtrend right here plays out with a small break to a new low, two failed attempts to fade. That pushes us into larger attempts at a new low. So now it's downtrend, the whole thing, including this little break to new low, two-legged break, first attempt lower, second attempt lower, and it's obviously successfully made a new low at that point. And so, anyway, I'm going to get back into, sorry, I keep moving this chart around wrong. So anyway, at this point here, what I'd like to see is price continue up, reach this measured move, reach this high up here, so that way we can look to get short on the fade failure and continue with this downtrend, make the second large leg down. Now in this case here, it just can't get above halfway into this range. It starts to get choppy. It's not off of the measured move. It's not off of the highs. So unfortunately, there's no clear entry here. And so it pushes on lower here, retests this low. That's, when you come off one side of a range, you want to see two attempts to reach the other side from where it's testing it there. And we only get really one leg up, and it's choppy, it's kind of sideways, and then obviously the entry is directly into that very clear support that's been forming, so there's just nothing to take here. Now we push on lower, downtrend now has a clear break, push to a new low. It's definitely played out at this point, but we can still get a second leg to a new low. And so when price starts pushing up here, it could push above the EMA, and if it gets above the EMA, it is a good place for a reversal pattern. If price pushes up here, we could get a failed second entry, because, again, the downtrend played out. Price can still, if it pushes above the EMA, it can still fade back into the overnight low. So what we could get is a failed second entry. First entry short, second entry short, and then look for the failure entry there. In order to get long, it would just need to hold above the EMA, ideally hold above this support right here. As you can see, push up. So, this obviously doesn't happen, but this is just something that could happen in an area like this, because the downtrend played out. This is something that I would like to see. However, price does end up getting held down by the EMA, and so that starts the second leg at a new low. You're not always going to get two legs to a new low. If price doesn't find resistance, then it is still safe to look for a reversal after one leg to a new low. But if there's any resistance here, then price could easily push lower, and then you can often find a way to get in on that second leg down. In this case here, we don't get that, because from here, from this new low, we only have one clear leg up. We don't have a two-legged move up. It's not a second entry right here. It's just one leg, and then it gets sideways, and then we do get a bearish bar, but again, it's just one leg up, so we can't take it. Now we push on lower here, we make that second leg down, and then we kind of just start forming some support right here in that same area as the end of that first leg, then price starts to reverse. So sometimes price just needs to make a second attempt at a new low before really reversing higher, even if it's already made a new low on that first attempt. So we push on up here. This is another good spot for a reversal pattern, for a clear failed second entry. And when price pushes above the EMA like this, then it's pretty clear price is attempting to reverse. If we get a good reversal pattern, we can look to go long, but it ends up not forming a clear reversal pattern. It just pushes on up. Once it reaches from this high, this previous resistance right here, then it starts pushing on lower. Now, just like I was explaining how with this downtrend, at first it had a smaller break to a new low, and then eventually you got to combine the legs and look at the larger structures. You got to do that again here. Look at this red arrow. This is clearly one leg on a bigger picture. So what at first was downtrend, break, two legs to a new low, and then a reversal due to the downtrend playing out, this reversal failed. It couldn't get past this resistance level, and so what that forms is a bigger picture break. This reversal higher is no longer the reversal from that downtrend. Now it's just the break from this wider downtrend right here. So now we have downtrend, break, first attempt lower, and then second attempt lower. So I hope this is clear here, combining structures, seeing the bigger picture. And so anyway, we push on lower here. Good place to get a failed second entry long. If we push below, get a couple legs back, look for a long entry failure in order to get short. And that just doesn't happen here. We push down here and we make this lower high, but I did not want to enter on that just because it's so close with this resistance that was very clearly forming, and we had already just bounced right there. So I was not wanting to enter short right into that. And so this pushes down without us. We reach this measured move down here, and right as price reaches it, it's also overshooting this channel right here. Now, overshoots tend to lead to breaks. So here, when we overshoot, we get two attempts to reverse, but this down measured move is still in play right here. It barely didn't reach it, and one thing I want to mention is, so with this move down, first leg breaks, second leg, the second leg starts here, so we put the measured move right there. Price did go above that swing right here. It went above this level, and so, technically, we need to start the second leg from here, so first leg, break, and then second leg. However, even though price made that new high and is starting a second bigger leg, we still need to consider this measured move right here because it is still decently large. It is still a lot of price action for the day. And so it's not like it just becomes out of play because we push up and make this new high right here. We still need to consider this measured move level right here. And so anyway, price pushes up. It barely misses it there. Sometimes whenever it barely misses, it could be because it technically reached it, and maybe maybe it could be drawn off just by a couple ticks or whatever, but sometimes it'll barely miss it and then go back and then fully retest it and then take off. And that's another example of it happening here, because after we get these couple legs back, price holds off this trend line right here, third bounce, gets below the EMA, and it does end up just going and needing to retest that level right there before reversing higher. Now, in this case here, we were not able to get, or at least I was not able to get in on it because I wanted to enter after price broke this trend line right here because, again, the downtrend right here has a break and a new low. It is played out at that point. We have two attempts to reverse, and then it's, so far failing to reverse because it's holding off of this trend line right here and pushing lower. But we still don't want to enter into any kind of bullishness. In this case, that would be this up trend line right here. So I wanted to wait for price to close out, which happens on this bar right here, and then price never comes back to fill our limit order up here. And obviously wanting to keep the target within this measured move level right here. So no fill on that. Price starts pushing up here. It starts reversing right at that measured move. And so, we have to consider, even though we're reaching this measured move right here and we could start reversing on higher, we still have a larger measured move in play. So we have to stick with whatever price is doing. Now, we obviously have this wider trend, which it looks like it got a little bit off of there. There we go. And so we have this wider trend in play here. We need price to get through it in order to safely take a long, or if we get 2 clear legs up, we could just take a short directly off of it. Now, when we start pushing up here, at this point, there's not much room for a clear second leg unless we get a significant break, which ends up not happening. So we don't get anything here. It just plummets before we can even reach that high. And then as it pushes lower here, that of course starts this new channel here. We can see how price holds. And now when price reaches through this, let me zoom out here. Price reaches this measured move right here. It's a down measured move, major measured move for the day. Price pushes through, starts reversing back up. Oops, I didn't mean to grab that there. Price starts pushing back up, reversing. Perfect place for a reversal pattern. Not that we would necessarily want to enter it, but it's a likely place for a reversal pattern. But you don't want to enter long directly into that trend line right here. And instead, what price ends up doing is making 2 attempts to reverse before getting a sharp push down and then making this lower high, retesting this previous measured move level. So even though we met the measured move, that was not enough for price to reverse. Price couldn't even reach that trend line, had a very sharp bearish push down, then a clear lower high. This was a limit order trade because, even though price is very bearish and it's been bearish all day, we did get a bounce right there, and it was a pretty sharp spike up, so I don't want to exactly push price through that, expecting it to break that level right there. And price was able to come back and fill the limit order in this case. But, you don't want to risk it. In this case here, it pushes on down, but you get a very clear reaction to that swing right there. So, just something to keep in mind. Now we push on lower here, we overshoot this channel right here. Overshoots again tend to lead to breaks. Now we ended up retesting the low of this channel right here before pushing lower, and so oftentimes whenever price can't get back into a channel after an overshoot, oftentimes what that means is the lows are extending. So that could be what's happening here. Maybe it'll suddenly spike up out of nowhere, but if price overshoots and then just can't get back in and then just keeps overshooting, then likely what's happening is the lows are extending. So we'll see what happens. We just got to wait for more price action to form to know exactly what's going on. But, we've also got to consider this channel here. So just draw that out. If price does start reversing, there's a chance it could form a failed second entry to go long. Not that we would want to take that because it's so bearish right now, and you have to worry about this trend line in the way. But I'm just saying overshoots do tend to push into reversal patterns, and what that could lead to is a big 2-legged move up to these highs. So it could form a push up, a couple legs back, then make a second leg up, and then we can look to get short off this high up here. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to hop over to the NQ now. That's it for the ES. Although actually, before I do that, there is one thing. On this right here, there was another trade on the NQ, which was right in this area, which was able to come back and fill the order. So we'll get into that when we get into it right here. So now we're on the NQ. Limit order trade was able to get a fill on a limit order on here. And so anyway, let me just zoom in here. Overnight high, overnight low, just like on the ES. Again, I started trading at 8 Central Time, which is this area right here. So when we push out here, we have this first leg break, second leg. Notice that the separation of these 2 legs right here, it's separated by a 2-legged move. So 2-legged moves happen all over the chart. Second entries are very important to understand. First leg down, 2-legged break, second leg down. And so anyway, when we break out of the overnight low right here, price attempts to fade back up. But again, we want to see 2 attempts to fade before shorting with the breakout, because it's just range rules. When price breaks out of a range, you can expect it to fade back up. And with the knowing that the market moves in pairs of 2s, we know that we need to wait for 2 attempts to fade in order to get in on a failure entry. We don't want to expect price to just fail to fade after 1 attempt like this. It's just not enough. So we need to see our 2 attempts. Price pushes down to a new low. That's another, we have another chance at getting 2 attempts to fade. We get our first attempt up, second attempt. It's a lot more choppy and it forms a couple legs within this one leg. But, we can see we have that 2-legged move up here, but it doesn't quite retest the overnight low. It ends up just getting a sharp push down, which at that point it's just pushing down too far. It has this slight upward bias. It's kind of forming these higher lows, and it's choppy. It's not really clear. So I didn't like any short in here, especially because with this leg up, the first leg up is all within this channel right here, so it's not like a two-legged break, it's just one leg break with a little bit of a bullish bias forming within this chop that's forming here. So I just didn't like taking any shorts here, it just seemed too risky. But then here, it's clear to see that after the downtrend gets its break, we have our first attempt lower and then second attempt lower. And so we have our 2 attempts at a new low. Price is forming very clear support at this point, and so it's considered played out at this point. It hasn't made a new low, but it has 2 clear attempts. We're getting a good bullish reaction. We're pushing above the EMA, and as you can see, this is a limit order trade because entering with a stop, you would have to expect price to break this this high quite a lot at that point. So I just wasn't wanting to do that, wanting to use a limit order to keep the target within a safe, to keep the target safe, not expecting it to just push on out of clear resistance like that. So we push on up, it does end up piercing a little bit, it goes to about where it pierced before, and then it just plummets on down. So here what we have is, after this downtrend gets a break, we have a push to a new low. So downtrend, break, new low. The large downtrend is considered played out because even though we had these 2 attempts here, that was not enough for price to reverse on higher and fade. So we ended up getting a bigger picture attempt to a new low. And so that ends up forming this big 2-legged move down. The measured move is still in play at this point, but price starts reversing. Good place for a reversal pattern, considering the downtrend played out. It's a very common place to get a reversal pattern. We just want to make sure that we're not entering into this trend line right here if we do get one. Now, technically, this is a failed second entry right here. This is technically a reversal pattern because we have first entry short, second entry short, and then failure. But it's not holding above the EMA, and by the time it is above the EMA, it's right into that trend line. So there's just no clear way to take it here. So anyway, we push on up, we reach this measured move, and as soon as it reaches it, it ends up making another 2-legged move up. It spikes into these 2 legs up, retesting the overnight low before plummeting on down. Now, when it pushes through here, this is a good place for a little reversal pattern, a failed second entry. We just need room to these lows right here because with this downtrend, with its break, we can expect price to attempt a new low. Price just retested a major key level for the day, the overnight low. So this is really a good place for a short, but we do need to consider these lows right here. They are still valid. Overshoots tend to lead to breaks, which lead to strong pushes down, but sometimes these trends do recover, so you just want to consider that. So anyway, we push on lower here. It doesn't offer us a good failed second entry here. We end up making these 2 legs down. So downtrend, break, first attempt lower, second attempt lower, and right as that second attempt lower is met, it really starts spiking down, it pushes on through, and then we get 2 attempts to reverse. It makes a 2-legged retest of that measured move level. Now at first it went above it here, but then it pushed out pretty quick, so it is still a 2-legged retest. And again, limit order trade, this is that no fill area on the ES, and in this case here, after price broke that trend line and closed out of it, it was able to come back and fill with a limit order, giving us plenty of room down to this measured move here. So I really like this right here. Good amount of room, 2 legs back, retesting that measured move level. Even though the downtrend had just played out, we now have 2 attempts to reverse, and it's not wanting to reverse. It's staying bearish, continuing with the push to a new low. So this measured move, which acts as a magnet, is clearly stronger than the bulls who want it to reverse here. So anyway, we push on lower here. It pushes through the measured move, gets a little bit choppy before making 2 attempts to reverse. We got our first attempt up, second attempt, and then, obviously it's unable to reverse. It pushes on down. Now, when we push lower here, we have another opportunity because when price breaks through this measured move level, we can get 2 legs up retesting it. And so we can look for a short. Now, in this case here, we just get this 1 leg up here, new low, another 1-legged move up. So we don't quite get anything, but it pushes on lower here and starts to overshoot this channel. So we have this channel here. It's off the highs. We only have 1 off the low, but it ends up pushing on through here, overshooting. Again, overshoots tend to lead to breaks, so this is a common area to get a reversal pattern. If price pushes on up, it could push through this trend line and give a large failed second entry. Stuff like that's very common to see. Oh, whoops, I didn't mean to. There we go. So that doesn't happen. Price ends up just pushing back in a little bit. doesn't quite go far. You can kind of see there's two legs up, but it's very thin. It really just looks like one leg up before pushing on lower. Now, we have this lower high, but it basically formed a double bottom right before it, and I would not want to expect price to push through that, especially betting on it continuing and overshoot. So I was not wanting to go short there, but it does end up continuing on down. We get this first leg down, break, second leg down, and then let's see what happened here. So some of this must have just happened, obviously. And so we have these two legs down, overshooting this trend, which is going into this thinner trend. It's very clear. These highs, we only have two off the highs, but these lows are starting to fit very well. Slightly pierced it through there, but it's really overall holding, so it might just be slightly extending the lows here. What I'd like to see is two clear legs up to these highs, offering a short. If we don't get anything right off of the high after two legs, what could happen is let me just draw this out. So say we get two legs up. These things never copy clearly. Here we go. So if we get two legs up, but say it doesn't offer a clear entry up here, what could happen is price pushes off the high into a smaller failed second entry, and then that could offer us a short. So first entry long, second entry long failure to continue with the downtrend. Yeah, so that's really going to be it for the video. I hope it helped out. Yep, thanks for watching. I'll see y'all next time.